बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। क्या मेरी आवाज़ सबको क्लियर आ रही है?
जी
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 बिल्कुल। यस।
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So let's begin with the name of Allah, and let's move toward that very essential part, and that is that I'm going to introduce myself. I am Haris Abdullah, and I belong to Group 3. So whenever there is a presentation or whenever there is any project or any group, so there are a lot of backup and a lot of people working behind it. So let me introduce you first to the members of the Group 3, and the first member is Malak Sofia, and second one is Imadullah, Rizwan Abdullah, and it's me, Haris Abdullah. So, okay, let's move toward that. As we know that when we are doing something in our life or anything, so there is a vision behind it. So, what's the vision of our team? So, the vision of our team is to familiarize you that what actually paints is. Okay, so when we are talking about the terms like paints this, I like this paints, or what are, so we are going to introduce you and familiarize you that what actually paints is and what's composition. And whenever we are dealing with the composition and paints, we are really interested to know the types of paints and what's the paints consideration and what is the term varnish that we usually use in our daily lives. Okay, so can you see this picture? That when you are just when you look at this picture, you will see a lot of colors, and you will see a lot of glamour, and by human nature it fascinates us to chase the aesthetics and beauty. So when let's now discuss this what actually paints is. So paint is essentially a coating or a covering material applied on a metallic or non-metallic surfaces for decorative or protective purposes. Okay, so as we know that we put on our clothes not just for the aesthetic purpose, but the first and the primary purpose is to protect us from the climatic changes and all of that things. And the secondary thing is that we are dealing with is the aesthetics. And by human nature, we really have to deal with the aesthetic, but because we fascinate the aesthetics. So we dealing with the paint's definition. So the paint is basically a colored substance which is applied on a metal, timber, or plaster surfaces in order to protect it from adverse effects of weather, moisture, or different chemical attacks. So a lot of fellows and colleagues are really interested in the technical definition of the paint. So paint is actually a liquid solution of a pigment coloring material and solvent which is applied on different surfaces for a decorative or a protective purpose. So we are not here dealing with the primary and secondary purpose, but first it can also be categorized that what actually is its primary purpose and what actually it's the secondary purpose. So the primary purpose is to um, uh, dealing is with the coverage of the house from the sun rays and the rain and a lot of the climatic changes. Or it can also be defined as the dispersion of pigment. We can say the coloring substance in a suitable drying oil in the presence of a solvent, so a paint thinner. So actually in the next slides you're going to familiar with the term paint thinner. So why do we need paints? It's really a big question that we can simply deal with the structures, and we should not need any paints. But the ingenious jobs, if we are concerned with the ingenious jobs, that so we need a building or a house, so we do refer it to an engineer in the order to process is started and it builds structures and all that. After that, when engineer do all the structure things and the building is now ready, so what actually we are dealing with after that is the aesthetic purposes. So when we know that actually the paint exists and this and that, it's the curiosity of a human being to know the composition of paint. So a lot of people will be really curious to know that what actually is the composition of paints. Okay, so the composition of paints is follows like first of all, its component is base, another is vehicle, and we also known is it as a binder. And another thing is that is one or more than one coloring pigment, and we can categorize it as a coloring pigment. Okay, so the third thing is the fourth thing is the solvent or a thinner, and another thing is dryer, and the last inert filler. So types of paint should be selected according to the construction, and it cost should be as low as possible. Costly paints should not be used in common construction depending upon the composition of paint. So let's now move towards As you can see in this slide that the composition of paints has been summed up in one picture in order to understand that the composition of paint will be followed as that it is composed of pigment, solvent, solids, binder solvent, and liquid additives. Okay, so paints are prepared by intimately mixing various components in proper proportions. So, following are the essential components of paints. So, the base is a very really an important component of the paints. A base is a solid substance actually that forms the body of the paint. As you know that we have been given a presentation in order to deliver it. So the main component was that we have to deliver it and we have to prepare it through the PowerPoint format. Otherwise we can do it. Yes, we have another methods of presenting our presentation, but we knew that the main concern is with the PowerPoint. So actually base also plays such sort of function in this the composition of paints. So let's familiarize ourselves with the term base. That a base is actually a solid substance that forms the body of the paint. It consists of very fine powder of a suitable material such as white lead, red lead, iron oxide, and titanium oxide, etc. The base material makes the paint films harder, stronger, elastic, and safe against cracking in moisture. As our previous colleague Abdullah has discussed, that it has a lot of a lot of objectives of paints. So how those objectives are achieved actually? These the those objectives are achieved actually through the composition of paints, through its various compositions. So actually the function of base is to provide the body to the paint. As if in order to we have to move from one place to another. So the the main thing is our legs actually. So if we don't have legs, we are not going to we will have to take another methods and blah blah blah, etc. So now let's move toward the another component, and that is base, and that is vehicle. So vehicle are a binder. We have a vehicle or a binder, and it is actually an oil or a liquid, oily liquid in which base and pigments are soluble. So the binders are ingredients that provide a binding effect that holds the pigment together to create a dry film on the surface. So a paint binder is the key ingredient that directly relates to a paint's performance. It is actually an oil which is dried on exposure to air, hence it is also called a drying oil as well. And it really facilitates the paint to be conveniently spread over evenly over the surface by means of a brush. If so, the vehicle or the binder is not present in the paints, so we are not going to evenly distribute and spread that paint over with the help of brush on the walls or anything we want from it. It acts as a binder for the base and causes it to the stick to the surface. On drying, it forms a tough and elastic film. Oils mostly used as vehicles are linseed oil, poppy oil, nut oil, and tongue oil. So the most commonly used vehicle, if we are concerned, is as you can see on the slides, that those are linseed oil, poppy oil, nut oil, and tongue oil. So dryers are those substances which are added uh, in the next slides. The dryers are those substances which are added to drying oils to accelerate the rate of drying. They act as a catalyst in the paints. Now let's move toward the coloring pigments. As you can see in this picture that we have a lot of colors, and in the background you can see the wall and a painting on it. So from where this orange color has come out to be the orange colors that we have been desired. So it is a coloring material added to the above component in order to impart a desired shade and color. And so there are two types of pigments actually, the prime pigments and the extended pigments. So the prime pigments and its job is responsible for color and the whiteness in paints and not more than that. But the extended pigments on the other hand is a naturally occurring chemical substance usually having a white color that is added to a paint or coating to improve its properties as such as durability, cost, and resistant to or corrosion or wear. So the extended pigment is really a responsible component in the composition of paints. So pigments, either organic or inorganic, or what give the paints its colors actually and its ability to cover. The level of concentration of pigment in a particular paint has also a direct impact on the durability of paint's film. on measure of a paint's quality as the pigment volume concentrate. So uh, there are also subjected to change of color under the influence of most urea, heat, or hydrogen sulfide. So here on the slide, as you can see, there are commonly many pigments which are available in the market, and that is black, uh, blues, yellows, green, browns, red, and the explanation is written in front of them that blacks follows as the lamb black, vegetable black, ivory black. So there are many variation in it. Okay, so another component, and that is the really important component of the paints, that is solvent. They're also called paint thinner, which reduces the viscosity of the paints to a great extent. Solvents paint thinner are added to paint in order to make its application easy, smooth, and uniform. So the important thing is that we actually have to handle the paint very easily, and the solvent is added to the paints in order to make its application easy, smooth, and uniform. So oil of turpentine is the most commonly used thinner, and there are some drawbacks of the solvent or thinner as well, that an excessive use of the thinner can dulls the color and the gloss of linseed oil, and it also reduces the protective value of the coating as well. So good finishing, actually in every walk of life we want a good finish. So there are most of the thinners which cannot deduct a sort of a desired result from it. So for the good finishing, we will have to use the copple for varnish, and it is also a sort of a good thinner which is used for the good finishing. Another component, and that is the dryer. So the dryer, what is the purpose of dryer? So the dryers are added to the paint to quicken the drying of vehicles. As I have previously said, that vehicles are the oily liquid which are responsible for binding and suspension of the solvent and the liquid parts in it. So the linseed oil dries by absorbing oxygen, and it could be expedited by adding substances rich in oxygen as well. So the commonly used dryers are litharge, red lead, lead acetate, manganese dioxide, and zinc sulfide. So when we are dealing with the dryers or anything which is chemically have been organized in the laboratory, so there we will have to keep some prevention and precautions as well. And these are the dryers should not be used unnecessary, as they have a tendency to destroy the elasticity and cause flaking of the paint. So, and another thing is that dry should not be used in paint that dries well. If already the paint is drying very well, and its timing of dryness is very good, so we should not use any dryer in it. Not more than one dryer should be used at time, and it should be added to the paint just before the paint is to be used. So now let's move toward another component, and that is the inert filler. Inert filler, also known as extender, and they are also called simply the fillers as well. So we will let's move toward that. What actually the filler is? A filler is a substance which can be added to paints to increase its bulk volume without affecting its usual properties. These materials are necessarily inert towards other components of paints, which makes it a really worthful component in the paint. It is an adulterant mixed to replace the base in part, and thus reducing the cost of paints. So as if the material is available in the market, so we will have to also keep the economical point of view in it as well. So in order to replace the base in some part of the paint, we will have to replace with it the inner filler in order to maintain the price. So the commonly used filler are silica, charcoal, powder chalk, aluminum silicate, and barium sulfate, etc., which are used as the inert filler. So here I am all for today. If there's any question, you can ask.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Muhammad Rizwan and I'm from Group 3 and I'll be presenting the types of paint. But before the types, let's look at the three main categories of paint that are water-based paint, oil-based paint, and miscellaneous paint. All the paints are categorized in terms of the solubility. So water-based paints are soluble in water, the oil-based are soluble in oil, and miscellaneous paints they have a special material which is called for example, metal, silicon, epoxy, etc. The water-based paint, they are the most common form. They dry very fast and they produces a few or little smell or odor. The oil-based paint, they are very durable. They gives a very smooth and glossy finish, and they have a strong odor and smell. So these are the types of paint I'll be discussing today with you. The red ones, they are the oil-based paint. The blue ones are the water-based paint, and the black ones are the miscellaneous paint. On number first, we have the oil paint. So it is an oil-based paint, and it is a type of slow-drying paint. It takes a very long time for its drying. In oil paint, the pigment particles are suspended in a special oil. This oil is mostly linseed oil, but there are a few other oils which can be used. For example, the poppy oil, the walnut oil, and safflower oil. The oil paint they gives a very smooth and glossy finish to the surface. They are very durable. They can be used for both interior and exterior uses, and they last for a very long time. The oil paint, they can be applied on different surfaces like the metal, the wooden surfaces, or the walls. Next, we have the distemper paint. It is an water-based paint having lime, chalk, water, and pigment as main ingredient. They give us a matte finish and they are very cheap. The distemper paint, they are water-based paint, so they are soluble in water. Therefore, they are affected by the weather and can be dissolved in the rainwater. Therefore, it is best to use it for only interior works only. Next, we have the emulsion paint, and it is a very special type of paint. Although it is a water-based paint, but it is not affected by the water or rainwater once it is applied on the surface. The reason for that is that it contains polymer in which the pigments are trapped. And these polymer, and they are suspended in the water. So when we apply this paint on these wall surfaces and once it dry, this polymer cannot be resuspended in water. That is why it cannot be washed off once it is applied. Some of the polymer used in emulsion paints are styrene butadiene, acrylic and styrene acrylic and nitriles. Next, we have the bituminous paint, which falls in the bituminous category, and it contains bitumen or coal, and that is dissolved in the mineral spirit or naphtha. Bitumen is actually asphalt, which is also used in roads, making roads, etc. And it is a highly viscous liquid and semi-solid form of petroleum. The bituminous paint is very strong. They are mostly used for waterproofing the surface or corrosion proofing the surface. They are very economical. They have very thick black color. So mostly they are used for protection purposes and not for beauty purposes. Other colors can be achieved by adding some pigments into it. The bituminous paint, they have one defect in them, and that is when it is exposed to the sunlight for a long time, they deteriorate and get destroyed. Next, we have the enamel paint, which is an oil-based paint. It is a solvent-based paint, and it dries to a very hard and vitreous shell. Vitreous meaning a glass-like shell. They gives a very smooth and highly glossy finish to the surface. They are very durable, and they are mostly due to this reason they are mostly used for exterior purposes. They are mostly applied on the surface to protect it from the hard wear and temperature variations. Then comes the cement paint, which is a water-based paint, and it contains cement as main ingredients, having water, pigments, etc. Mostly the cement paint are applied on the surface to protect it from water, but it is also applied to hide various irregularities in the surface. Therefore, it gives the surface a very smooth and pleasing appearance. They are also resistant to the fungus, algae, and they protect the building from the different weather conditions. The cement paint are very economical as cement is very cheap. Then we have the metallic paint, which is miscellaneous paint. It contains metal flakes. Metal flakes are actually the small thin pieces of metal which are being cut off from thin sheets of metal. In terms of metals, it can be either zinc, silver, etc., etc. The metal flakes, including these paints, they create a very sparkling effect Thus, this paint mimic the metal surface once it is applied. Next, we have the latex paint, which is a water-based paint. It contains a special material, latex, which is a white milky liquid, and it is obtained from the rubber tree, as can be seen in the left bottom picture. It is a water-based paint, in which water is used as a solvent and latex as a binder. They are not very durable, but therefore it is best to use it for interior works and not for exterior purposes. They dry very quickly. Then comes the epoxy paint. It falls in the miscellaneous category. It contains epoxy, which is actually epoxy is a thermosetting synthetic resin, which contains an epoxy group. The epoxy paint, they provide a very glossy and smooth glass-like finish to the surface. Therefore, they do not need any types of finish after once it is applied. The epoxy paint, they are mostly used for flooring purposes. They protect the surface from the they protect the surface from hardware and waterproof the surface. It also gives the corrosion resistant properties to the surface. The condensation paint is a water-based paint, and it protects the surface from moisture formation on the surface, and they repel the water, and they repel water. It also prevent fungal and mold growth, and it has also another property, and that is it gives a thermal insulation to the surface. Next, we have the luminous paint. Luminous paint is a special type of paint. It glows in the dark. The luminous paint, because it contains a special material which has the property of glowing once it is being exposed to the energy source for a short period of time. The luminous paint are mostly used to mark fire exits, roadway signs, runways, and they are also used in the hands of a wristwatch. The luminosity or the glowing effect can be achieved by three methods. Number first is the phosphorescence, fluorescence, and radioactive substance. In phosphorescence, the UV light is converted into visible light. As you know that UV has a smaller wavelength than the visible range. So some material has a property to change this smaller wavelength to the bigger wavelength, and thus the invisible UV becomes visible. Some material have phosphorescence, and that is that it stores energy in some form, and later on it gives it in the form of light. So thus we see it. In radioactive substances, the energy decay, the decay of the radioactive substances is converted into visible lights. So some material use phosphorescence, some are phosphorescence, and some are radioactive substances and can be achieved. Next, we have the lead paint, which is actually a paint in which lead metal is added. Some common form of lead used in paints are lead chromate, lead oxide, and lead carbonate. It is highly durable and it resists moisture. It is very good paint, but there is one defect in it that lead paint is a lead. It contains lead, which is a highly toxic metal. When this lead gets into your body, it can cause damage to the brain, kidney, nerves, and blood, etc. It is extremely dangerous. Due to this reason, it is banned in most of the country. As can be seen in the pictures, जो कि पेंट लेड पेंट है जो कि बहुत पुरानी हो चुकी है, इनके फ्लेक्स बने हुए हैं. अगर ये पेंट्स फ्लेक्स डस्ट पार्टिकल में शामिल हो सकते हैं, वाटर में शामिल हो सकते हैं, और देन इट कैन गेट इनटू योर बॉडी. Next, we have the textured paint, as it's clear from the name that it is a paint having textured. And this texture is achieved by using the coarse grain material, for example, the gypsum and the sand. Mostly the texture paint are used for the beauty purposes, to create patterns in the walls. It can be it can be used to produce different styles on the walls. Look at the pictures, it has some textured. This is a texture paint. Next, we have the silicon paint, which is miscellaneous paint. It contains a silicon, which are polymers made up of siloxane. They are colorless, rubber-like substances. The silicon paint, they repel water, They are also resistance to a high temperature. So silicon paint can be used on surfaces which are subjected to high temperatures. It is also resistant to chemical attack. Then we have anti-corrosive paint. As clear from the name, it will resist corrosion. The anti-corrosive paint they uses some corrosion-resistant pigment due to which it resists the rust formation. Some anti-corrosive pigment used in these anti-corrosive paint are zinc chromate and lead chromate. It has some other properties like good abrasion resistance, good rust prevention, water prevention, and good impact resistance. Anti-corrosive is a very cheap and a long-lasting corrosion protection methods. Other methods of corrosion protection can be very pricey. Mostly used, so anti-corrosive paint are mostly used on the metal surfaces to protect it from the corrosion. So the last one, we have the zinc-rich paint. As we have discussed, the zinc is an anti-corrosive pigment. So zinc-rich paint will also resist the corrosion formation on the surface. The zinc-rich paint contain a high level, nearly 85 to 92% of zinc pigment, which act as anti-corrosive component. The zinc-rich paint protect the surface from the corrosion. It provides also cathodic protections to the steel or metal surface, etc. Thank you. That's all from me.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My presentation topic is consideration for choosing a particular paint. 5 factors are considered when choosing a paint. These are 5 important factors to keep in mind when selecting your paint. First of all, the richness of the color. Richness of the color means how deep a color have you chosen and how exposed to the element will it be. Some are specially formulated to hold richer, deeper color better than other, like our interior paint, whose priority color lock technology means richer, truer color. After the richness of the color, we will discuss about the coverage of the paint. Coverage of the paint means how much area is covered by given amount of the paint. This quality is important if you have chosen a deep color or trying to cover over one. How many coats should you plan for? This makes a big difference for coverage. Ira, for example, can achieve amazing one coat coverage with most colors. After the coverage of the paint, we will discuss about the washability of the paint. Washability of the paint means that how the paint can remove from the surface like skin, fabrics, and walls. You will want to pay attention to this factor for high traffic spots and patches, kitchens, hallways, and trims. Washability is also an important consideration when selecting a paint, like eggshell, ferrule, gloss. The shinier the finish, the easier to clear it will be. Paint and primer together. No more waiting for primer to dry. With our paint and primer together, paint you can just choose your dream color and dive in. At last, we will discuss about the smell of the paint. When conventional paint is applied to the wall, volatile organic compounds are released into the air, which resulting in that familiar strong bed smell.
Beta, what is your name?
Imadullah sir.
इमादुल्ला, आपके बाकी ग्रुप मेंबर्स ने जिस तरह प्रेजेंटेशन दिया ना उसी तरह प्रेजेंट करो. आप मजा खराब कर रहे हैं अपने ग्रुप मेंबर्स का.
ठीक है सर.
ठीक है, आपने प्रॉपर्ली, और इस तरह नहीं है कि बस स्लाइड आपने वो करने खत्म करने, ये खत्म नहीं करना है. एक्सप्लेन इट प्रॉपर्ली. Where you have some problems in English, you can explain it in Urdu. Is there any foreigner in the class? Any foreigner student in the class? Haris?
No, sir.
सर आपकी
Okay.
आवाज़ कट रही सर, समझ नहीं आ रही.
Is there any foreigner student in the class?
No, sir.
Okay, beta. So then you can explain some of the things in Urdu as well. आपने आराम से प्रेजेंट करना है, प्रॉपरली प्रेजेंट करना है, एक्सप्लेन भी करना है. ओके
Okay,
बेटा,
sir.
गो अहेड.
सर स्टार्ट से शुरू करूँ. The last consideration part choosing a particular paint has the smell of the paint. Smell of the paint means when conventional paint is applied to a wall, volatile organic compounds are released into the air. When we applied the paint to the wall, so the organic compound which is involved in the paint is volatile, which has caused the irritation in other um, mm, irritation of the throat, and sometimes also it is called the redness of the eye, etc. Most paints are very safe, but however exposed to a paint, its fumes and its evaporate chemical has the potential to cause irritation of the skin, eyes and throat. In the given example, we see that the blue color of the wall in which the painted room for 1 to 3 hours, we not easily inhale in this room. Okay, thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is me, Malak Sofiami, class number 15. The topic which I will discuss with you people is about varnish, and here we will discuss introduction, objectives, and applications. Heading towards introduction, varnish is a formulation of resinous matter dissolved in oil of turpentine or in alcohol or any other liquid. Okay, varnish, if we discuss varnish, is just basically made of anything which has contain resin, then mixed with oil of turpentine or any other solvent depending on the use. If we define resin, resin is a sticky, flammable organic substance insoluble in water which is exuded from trees and some plants, mainly fir and pine. It is just basically a natural form which is we extracted from trees, which is flammable and it is organic. Like you can see at the extreme bottom of the left side, which is showing the very basic form of resin when it is extracted from trees. Okay, usually varnish is prepared from resin, solvent, and oil. The basic thing which are required for the preparation of varnish are resin, solvent, and oil. The utmost part of the varnish is that of resin. And the top picture is about the oil of turpentine. It has very basic uses and it's also used in varnish. Okay, the medieval Latin root word for varnish is vernix, that means odorous or fragrant resin. Medieval is just about the Middle Ages, so it's a Latin word which means which is derived from vernix, and it basically means when a resin become fragrant or resin which have smell. Like if you have witnessed varnish in daily uses, okay, like you have would have witnessed varnish, it have smell. It was very, if as far as my opinion, it has very good smell. Okay, so next point is some varnishes harden immediately as a solvent of evaporates, so it produces film. The other varnishes harden slowly over a period of time. The process of hardening involves oxidation and polymerization. Like the hardening or producing of film of varnish depends upon the solvent being used. Like if the solvent evaporates early, this varnish hardens slowly over a period of time. It just basically depends upon the evaporation of solvent, and then the process of the hardening is based upon oxidation and polymerization. As we have already read about the oxidation and polymerization has already been discussed by sir in plastic topic. Anyone who can tell me about polymerization? Anyone?
जी बेटा, anyone in the class who can tell us about the polymerization?
जब बहुत से ऐसे मॉलिक्यूल सर मिल जाते हैं और एक बड़ा मॉलिक्यूल बना देते हैं, मोनोमर्स मिलके जब एक बड़ा मॉलिक्यूल बना देते हैं तो उसको पॉलीमर कहते हैं, और इस
Yes, very good.
प्रोसेस को पॉलीमराइजेशन.
Yes, very good. Okay, you people know about that. Now heading towards the next point. Generally, a varnish contains linseed oil or tongue oil. Slide पीछे करें अब्दुल्ला. Reasons like phenolic, polyurethane or alkyd, and solvents like naphtha, mineral spirit or thinner. It just basically depends upon the use or the demand. Like you can use different types of oils, resins and solvents. And thinner has already been discussed in composition by Haris Abdullah. You can see the picture on at the right, which is the linseed oil. The basic pictures are being pasted here. Next slide, please. In the preparation of a varnish, the amount of oil with respect to resin used affects the ability of the varnish. Like if you want to increase the applicability or the applying of varnish, usually we are concerned with to apply the varnish more easily. So it just basically depend upon how much oil you use with in contrast of resin. Like if you use less amount of oil but a large amount of resin in varnish, it results in hard and brittle finish. When oil is used in less amount and varnish and the resin is put in a great amount, the coating which results if it is hard and brittle. Hard means which can um, so resist abrasions and loads, and brittle mean which just break before attaining plasticity. Like you can see the surface of wood is being varnished. So if here we use oil in less amount and resin is used in large amount, it will increase its applicability. Next slide, please. Now, as we have discussed introduction, and I hope you people would have just got an idea about the varnish. Now we will head towards objectives and application. Before heading towards objectives and application, I must tell you that we find most of uses and objectives of varnish in words, because it is varnish is mostly concerned with the real texture of anything to be show the real texture. Like you can see the picture which is being before and after. It does not change the color, it just enhances the color of that particular thing. We sometimes paint wood, but if once we paint wood, it hides that the real color of wood. And in most woodworks, the color of wood to be used is to be preferred in its basic form. Okay, varnish is applied to the painted surface to increase its brilliance and to protect it from the atmospheric action. We on our this in this century, we are mostly concerned with the aesthetical appearances. Like we obtain the most good appearance. So varnish is used in that regard to increase its brilliance, means to be brightened, to enlighten the things. And the most basic part is to protect it from atmospheric action, like the actions of chemicals, corrosion, that the utmost part of that varnish. It is applied to the unpainted wooden surface with a view to brighten the ornamental appearance of the grains of wood. Like I already told you that we apply varnish in order to enhance its beauty, but do not hide its real texture, like what it's made of. If we apply a paint, so it will hide the real texture, but a varnish just enhances the grains. Even more, the grains become more visible. Once you would have witnessed, like you can see in the picture, how the beautiful the wood is then looking. Okay, it is used to coat wood in order to protect it against staining, weathering, and to reduce water penetration without concealing the grain or changing color of wood. Like you can see the three basic objectives, how it is good to use varnish. Like it can prevent you from staining, weathering. Weathering is nowadays very common. Weathering lead to very serious damages, and if you cure it, it's very good outcome of your material. And to reduce water penetration, which means porosity will be decreased, and water damages thing uh, more badly. So that's why varnish is used to provide wood a very good uniform texture and to prevent it from many different things. It is used on masonry to reduce penetration of moisture and damage from freezing. So it is also used in that areas which have a low temperature, and masonry is basically the work of stones. So it then reduces its porosity when once it is applied on that, and damage from freezing also used. Like you can see the picture, how the like it is the real color, but it enhances the real texture and all that. Next slide, please. Varnish gives a smooth and glossy finish to wood, and in short, giving it a beautiful look. Like once when our surface becomes smooth and it becomes glossy, glossy means to it that it attracts light and it look like glass like. So it in turns become beautiful. Like you can see the floor of a house which is wooden, and then varnish is applied, and how brightened it is and how reflecting it is. And once the uh, surface is reflecting light, it automatically becomes beautiful. And it can be used as a top coat over worn surfaces. It can also be used over dead surfaces which are expressed to more load, in order to resist that loads and to remain at its an usual in its original look. It is used as a top coat. It is applied over the surface to provide thermal insulation. Okay, so another application of it is that it can also be used as an insulator in our household, and in our the places where we live. We are mostly concerned with insulators or anything, so we provide every basic mean to use that thing which can be used as insulators. So one is also used an insulator. It is painted onto wood or other material to give it a hard, clear, and shiny surface. Not just basically it is used on wood, it found various uses in other materials. So, and it is used to give it a hard, clear, and shiny surface. Hard surface means to resist wear and tear. Clear means to it will be shiny, clear, and light attracting. It is a shiny coating which is applied on a floor or furniture. It dries clear and luminous. It is itself is a clear, a shiny coating. When it dries, it left a shiny surface, and which is applied on floor or furniture or any wooden surface. When it dries, it leaves a clear and luminous. Luminous means bright, and when it just dries, it is very bright. It gives a hard, shiny, and transparent finish to the surface. The very basic point is repeated again. It's like it is putting an effort to it, like that it is hard, shiny, and transparent. It brightens the view. It improves the aesthetical look of anything. Next slide. That's the end of the topic. What I have learned and what I prefer to you people is, once you when the at the end of the day, read some course related to your topic. So that will clear the points more clearly, and you will understand something in your life. Like you can see the first quote, which is about no varnish can hide the grain of the wood, and that the more varnish you put on, the more the grain will express itself. If we discuss it theoretically, already we have discussed, and you know about it, that varnish once applied, it increases the greens, it increases the aesthetical appearance of the greens of food. बट अगर हम जनरली बात करें, तो इसका ये मतलब हो सकता है कि अगर हम इंसान अपने अंदर में चेंज लाना चाहता है, तो वो जो है अपनी इनर पर्सनैलिटी को ना दबाए, बल्कि अपने आप को और एक्सप्रेस करे, और उसकी जो क्वालिटीज़ है वो और एक्सप्रेस होंगी, तो उसकी इनर पर्सनैलिटी वही रहेगी, लेकिन उसकी क्वालिटीज़ एक्सप्रेस होगी. The next one is varnish and gilding hide many stains. Gilding is just basically the work of gold on anything. So it hide many stains. Theoretically, you know about it, but generally speaking, like everyone needs an effort and work on itself, on themselves to uh, bring out the one who he is. The last one is a classic is like a hidden treasure. Its core is buried under so many layers of varnish that it can be reached only by patience and infiltration. A classic is just the peak of one's personality, which can only be reached by hard work and tolerance. So one can reach it by the layers of varnish, and one can reach by the applying the layers of varnish.
Okay,
Thank you.
excellent. Excellent work. Well done, beta.